And if you want to raise the roof, if we're going to talk about marketing in terms of a building analogy, really you want to hire an internal marketing person. I think about your 10th hire, depending upon your growth goals.
Sharp strategies, sweet success. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sharp Strategies, Sweet Success. This is your host, Tiffany Swedensky, and today I am talking with Ryan McKeen. I'm really happy that Ryan decided to join us today and talk a little bit about label marketing. A lot of you probably know Ryan. He owns Best Era and does a lot of marketing consulting through Best Era, talks a lot about marketing on LinkedIn. If you don't, you should follow him there. Ryan's also a practicing attorney, and so he has a law firm in Connecticut where they do personal injury law. So he's in the weeds doing this stuff and kind of building the marketing at the same time. So that's really cool. And I think this is actually me and Ryan's first time meeting. I've been in the orbit of legal marketing and these conferences for a long time, so I definitely heard his name. But I think this is the first time we're actually getting some FaceTime together, so that's pretty neat. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Ryan and let him finish up his introduction, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Hi, Tiffany. No, it's so nice to get to meet you. And yeah, I mean that's who I am. I'm an attorney. I've been an attorney for 20 years. Uh, I've grown several firms at this point, and I also teach this stuff to as an adjunct professor at University of Connecticut School of Law, where I always tell my students that their job number one is to get clients. Uh, so we spend a fair amount of time teaching them how to get clients because I really believe to my core that marketing is human and it is innate in all of us, and we just have to be intentional about what it is that we do.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I definitely agree. Marketing is a very human profession because a lot of times it's trying to figure out like how people will respond to things. And sometimes it's intuitive, sometimes not, but it's like getting in touch with how people respond and react, which is really important.
And it's really thinking to me, it's thinking about connection and how you can build connection and add value. If you can figure out a way, like there is so much terrible marketing in the personal injury space. Like it is clutter, it is litter. But if you can figure out ways to break through that, add value in terms of knowledge or add value just in terms of entertainment or, well, make people feel some way or laugh, like you are going to come out ahead as opposed to just, you know, putting your face somewhere or putting out a new logo. Like it's really about connection. And I think more so in the age of AI, I was thinking about this as preparing for this interview. I'm like, it's about building community. So let's go.
Oh, communities are still really thriving online, even with AI. A lot of it's AI assisted communities at this point, which is pretty neat. Well, I had one question. I guess it's not necessarily about marketing, but we'll talk a lot about that. But recently on LinkedIn, you talked about the importance of building like your internal teams to be able to handle like the cases your marketing can attract. Can you speak to like what are some problems that you see attorneys have when they're like building out a better operation side for their law firm?
First of all, is that we recommend when we consult with firms that their fifth hire be somebody in operations. Okay. And it doesn't have to be super high level, but somebody who can run to the bank, somebody who can make sure that the bookkeeper is reconciling books, somebody who can handle very basic HR functions, sort through resumes, insurance applications, government filings. Oh, and the toilet's clogged. You're the one who calls the plumber. I mean, like, you need to have that if you want to grow beyond sort of five people. If you want to be five people, that's fine. If you have a very tight-knit team of six or seven, and you're content with that, that's fine. But if you're actually looking to grow a business, because when you're really five people, you're sort of a freelancer with some support. If you're looking to grow a business, you need to put that operations person in about person five, and that's going to give you like the sort of foundation. I mean, maybe not that if you're building a house, like that's sort of framing it out, right? And if you want to raise the roof, if we're gonna talk about marketing in terms of a building analogy, really you want to hire an internal marketing person. I think about your 10th hire, depending upon your growth goals. I think not hiring an internal marketing person and not hiring an internal operations person at 5, and probably hire number 10, you should have somebody internally doing your marketing.
Oh, and both those roles are super, super important. And, the operations is so important because, like, you just really don't think about all of those things that need to get done around the office until, some paralegals are handling it or you see an attorney taking out the trash or something like that. And so, yeah, that operations person, and I even like how you rank them because, like, fifth hire, you need somebody who can do that stuff. You need somebody who can keep the wheels greased, keep the office flowing. And then, like, your 10th hire, you do need like a dedicated in-house marketing person because there's a lot you can do piecemeal with vendors and agencies, before maybe you need that person. But you do need that person because somebody's got to take photos, somebody's got to organize events, order swag, take inventory, and all of that's super important. You can't get by without having it.
You absolutely cannot. And look, I come from the personal injury space where marketing is very, very, very expensive. And when I had left my firm, we were spending $100,000 a month into paid marketing. I mean, by paid marketing, I mean that wasn't our internal salaries. That was things like newsletters and SEO and billboards and radio and TV and all the other things that we're paying for. So that gets very, very, very expensive. But to me, the lowest hanging fruit for people is to bring somebody in-house, train them properly, and have them do the marketing function. And too often, the law firm owners, the people who found the law firm generally, right? It's usually a solo or maybe somebody with a partner. They think that they should be the one doing that. And then maybe they're good at it and they generate enough business to sort of sustain themselves or hire one or two. But then all of a sudden they don't post on Facebook for 7 weeks, or they don't get the Christmas cards out, or they don't set up the lunches or the newsletters, and they don't do it. Marketing is like going to the gym. It's really about consistency in a lot of ways. And it becomes an issue of time, good use of resource, and really the fact is that most lawyers are ill-suited to do it, and having somebody in that seat dedicated to that role to me is the surest fire way to grow.
And just to draw out your gym analogy, because that is so perfect. Everyone gets excited about planning a workout routine or maybe like sitting down and saying, like, I'm going to eat so many calories a day, this much protein. Everyone gets excited about the planning. But then, like, going to the gym every day, prepping your meals, that's routine and that's hard to do. And so, like, I've seen a lot of attorneys they get really excited about the idea and the planning part. And then they do what you say, they create a plan, post on Facebook once, and then forget about it for 6 weeks. So you do need like somebody who's essentially dedicated not to generating the ideas and getting excited about the ideas, but somebody who can, work in the routine of it and carry out the plans efficiently and then update the plans when they're done. And that I just love that analogy because that is so important.
It really is because I mean, you'll hear people say like, "Oh, I tried Meta and it didn't work," or "I tried SEO and it didn't work," or "and I tried YouTube and it didn't work," or "I tried whatever." But the truth is that they're just probably not doing enough of it, because it does work. Like I absolutely does work. And maybe look, like you don't have to be everything, but you have to, if you understand that there are good strategies and you are learning good strategies from smart people, like listen to them and figure it out and keep posting, keep building links, keep sending newsletters, keep doing e-newsletters, whatever it is that you do, keep doing more of it.
So I think you're like me, which is really into like the technology of it, which if you're in marketing, how can you not be these days? And I guess where it applies to marketing or maybe where it applies to other things, like what technologies do you think law firms are underutilizing right now?
Data. Which here's what I mean by that. Look, when you know, say we kicked it way back to like 2000, right? you're gonna run an ad in a magazine. You have no idea how many people read it. You're gonna go on TV. You're not gonna have some idea. They're gonna say, "Oh, the Nielsen ratings for this time or this," right? You have no idea. You are operating completely in the dark, right? You have so much data on your social media. You know, your basic LinkedIn thing is going to tell you like these are topics people are interested in. These are topics people are not interested in. Look at your website, which pages are performing well, which pages are not. Go on YouTube. If you do a video and three people watch it, and you do it again and four people watch it, try something different. If you do a video and 20,000 people in your locality watch it, do another video like that. Like, and I think what they don't do enough is listen to feedback and organize their data through dashboards, through proper use of a CRM. Because when you dial this in, and it's where we got to the firm, it really felt like at some point we became day traders, where it was like, okay, this is going like the performance here is going down. Let's reallocate the money over here. Let's put more money into this. Let's try this. Let's pull this. Or this effort is utilizing these cases. And I also think so that's sort of like one bucket, right? Which is I think underutilization of data by law firms, underutilization of spending time to understand what that data says and have people manage and react. I think that's a huge, huge, huge blessing in today's world to be able to know instantly what hits and what does not. Another thing is financial planning, which is not sexy, but I really think like if you are doing marketing well, it is not just, ads and things. It is not just creative. It is really understanding what your goals are in line with your firm vision, what your budget is, how you're going to allocate that budget, how much you're allocating to both brand and I would call direct response. And then, not simply, and as much as I said data in the first bucket, not simply focusing so much on the data, but also understand that brand building efforts take lots of time. The results are measured in years. And if you're doing the right things, don't go give out backpacks to kids and expect to sign three car accident cases. Like
Yeah.
that's not the way that works. But if you give out thousands and thousands of backpacks and people know about it and you do it every single year, the overall line on your graph is going to go up if you're doing it all right. And utilizing opportunities like that, like especially with like here's an example for you with a charity. Uh, what we would do is if we were going to give away backpacks, we would run 6 weeks in advance meta ads at the community. Hey, we're going to be in your community giving away backpacks. Okay, we're getting, it's one day, but we're going to be there for 2, 3 hours, but we're getting a whole, like 6 weeks out of it. And then we would run it for a month after, like, here's the video of us handing out backpacks. We're in your community. And it's also going out as a newsletter to our clients. And also our referral sources are seeing it because we're putting it on places like LinkedIn. So in today's world, you have the ability to leverage brand. And so don't get too caught up into, I gave away 100 backpacks and I didn't get a car accident case.
A lot of attorneys get hung up on stuff like that because community marketing is hard because a lot of people have been taught like ROI, you have to track everything, and you do, that's not incorrect. But, the goal of community marketing isn't, a direct ROI. It's not direct response marketing. So we can't really calculate it that way, but it's still super important because it has this downstream effect. And more than that, it's just people remembering who you are and saying your name and recommending you to other people. You said something about data, and it's a question that I'm grappling with myself. But let's say you're looking at a piece of content, let's say like a YouTube video. And how do you tell the difference between like this video needs to be done better or this isn't the right kind of content for our audience? Like how do you decide like when it's optimize it or just throw in the trash?
I mean, I think well, I mean, the thing is, you get so much data. When did they stop watching? Where are they watching from? And look, if you're a firm in Virginia, like you don't care that 5,000 people in Oregon watched it. Like, you just don't care because they're not likely clients. I mean, maybe somebody's got an aunt who lives in Virginia. So you really just want to be cognizant of, what people are watching. Are they tuning in? Are they tuning out? Content in today's world is mostly disposable. And sort of like, what I mean by that is for whatever reason, whatever the number one book was last year, a year ago on Amazon, you can now probably buy for 99 cents and it's going to sell 4 copies this week. I don't know what it is. It's the same book, right? Like it's probably still a good book. But content right now is so disposable that the key is to just, you know, cut 10 videos at a time. Do it twice a month. Do 20 videos a month. That gets you 240 or videos or so a year, and you're just going to see some winners and some losers, develop some themes, and who knows? Sometimes the algorithm just serves something up randomly, and it gets caught. And but what you realize is if you do it enough, like that's 1 in 500 videos, and it just so happened to happen in your 113th.
Yeah. And if you look at like influencers on TikTok and Instagram, what I find interesting is like sometimes they hit on a formula that just works for them and then they just repeat it. And so they, if you put this in context of a personal injury attorney, that might be a video about, you know, what if the other driver is lying about the accident or something like that that you just continually remake, but you do it in such a way that it just always resonates. Not saying that that would work, but just to illustrate an example.
It does work. And when we did a bunch of videos, Tiffany, it was like we would do it and we'd be like, here's what the insurance company does after an accident, right? And then I was like, let's do it like this is what State Farm's doing to you after an accident. And we knew State Farm people hated, and it was like they denied a lot of claims. And then we would do this thing, and people thought we were a fly on their wall. Like the adjuster did exactly what you said. I'm like, yeah, because they do it all the time. And so that got us a lot of traction. And then we started doing them for Progressive and Allstate and Liberty Mutual. And so it was like speaking the same content to a different audience because everything right now, it's not just like, in the 80s and 60s, whatever, it's broadcast. Then it goes to narrowcast. Like in 2025, we are like microcast. We are like when that Allstate agent in Hartford, Connecticut tries to screw you by not paying your claim. It's very much almost personalized content given the sheer volume of it.
Oh, yeah. Content personalization, and it's almost like looking at TV viewing numbers like in the 90s compared to today. Like
Yep.
TV's, like a regular TV show would get astronomically high numbers compared to like a
Yep.
streaming show. Everything's so fractured, and there's a niche for everyone. And it's probably a good way to put it. And that's what's fun about social media.
And it's what's also, challenging in a way too, because, look, you could in 1990 run an ad on, CBS when I don't know, Rescue 911 is on or something, and that like, half of your county is watching that show or whatever it is. But now it's like, how do you reach the people that you really, really want to reach? And it's somewhat harder. I mean, look, the biggest marketing in this country is always political campaigns. And they struggled immensely last year with trying to reach niche audiences. And so you see presidential candidates, eschewing, NBC essentially for like some YouTuber that I've never heard of, but maybe the 18 to 22-year-old in Southern Illinois is really vibes with. So it's very interesting because it's not the size of the audience, which is where marketing got up. It's who's in that audience.
And it's funny when you think about the election and political candidates. I think I experienced the election myself mostly through memes. Just
Yes,
clips of things on social media. I think a lot of other people did too.
of course.
Yeah, and it's funny like the people are thinking like, how do we reach audiences through memes? And so that's kind of
Hmm.
interesting too. So like on this topic, like what are like the marketing channels that you think are important this year, next year, whatever? Where are you focusing right now?
Where we focus, number one, two, and three is client service. Like to me, every outbound communication is marketing. And so if you're not answering your phones, if you're not responding, if you're not meeting the needs of your existing clients, like you have failed. So that is like threshold, but it's also the biggest opportunity. Like I feel like if you're out there and you're listening to this podcast and you have very few clients, you don't have much money, I can relate. I've been in this situation. The best thing you can do is to take care of the one, two, or three clients that you have. Like that's the best thing because then they will refer their cousin and their coworker. Okay. So take great care of your clients. Look, you get to decide when you are a lawyer when the client relationship ends. And most lawyers end it when the case ends. But think about, maybe you have a client event where you invite everybody to the minor league team. Maybe you rent out a movie theater and say, anybody who has wants to bring their kids to go see, Frozen 3 or whatever, come bring your kids to see this movie. And so what you should try to be doing, because it is the lowest cost thing for you to do, engage your current clients through their life cycle. So when they hire you, note cards, swag, whatever it is that you can give them throughout the representation. If something happens, like, for example, like if something terrible happened, we would send succulents, or if somebody had surgery, we would send the DoorDash gift card because that way they didn't have to make dinner. When dogs died, we made donations to Fidelco, which is a guide dog thing. Just little things like that that don't even cost a lot of money. Like those are opportunities to connect, to build community. And then you want to be keeping in touch with these people afterwards. You want to be top of mind. Look, like the studies are what, like one person can refer 250 people to you. You can start understanding that when you have an audience, or when you've got a critical mass over your career of say 1,000 clients, like that is a lot of opportunity for you. And you also have data on the other end of it, which says that most people do not remember the name of their lawyer 2 years after the representation ends. So like low hanging fruit, cheap. I am still in 2025 bullish on web presence, digital presence, SEO, because I think on my phone this week, Tiffany, I took the Safari thing off my little bottom icons on the iPhone. I took Safari out and I replaced it with ChatGPT.
Oh shoot, I did that like 2 weeks ago. Like I'm not
And
kidding. I did the same thing with Google
okay.
now. Yeah, but yeah.
But you do the same thing. I do the same thing. And increasingly, it is where consumer behavior is going to start. Okay. So if you are out there and whatever your locality is and ChatGPT is not recommending you, you need to figure out a way for ChatGPT to recommend you. How is it? And you can ask it like, hey, how did you come up with these names? Right. And it's like, well, I looked on Avvo and Justia and lawyers.com, and then I looked at Google reviews. And then I reviewed websites, and this person's website mentioned some good results, and it said that they do car accidents in Aurora, Colorado. So you want to make your website do those things, okay? So even in 2025, SEO is not dead. The game has changed somewhat because now instead of just playing for the three pack or first page of Google, you are playing for the bots who are going to do the recommendation for you. I think it is critically important. I think that if you're not doing that right now, like, boy, it's only going to get harder for you. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that I think those are my one and two things that I would be spending a lot of focus on. And I mean, just in general, um, probably a third thing is just building your brand. Branded search is always better. If you say, I want to order Bounty paper towels over just going on Amazon and ordering paper towels. You sort of want to be that name brand for whatever communities it is that you serve. And to me, that means like community-based marketing. That means, your name is on the Little League field. You are showing up at the school events. You are doing this very old school, low tech marketing to communities to build brand. And look, if you want your, you have to think about what you want, what areas you want to own, what areas you can own. So maybe somebody it's a town, somebody it's a few towns, somebody it's a city, somebody it's a state, somebody it's a region, and if you're Morgan and Morgan, it's like the country. So, but you want to be doing those things and getting people to know your name.
Well, and speaking to like the client interactions and engagement, past the end of their case, I feel like a lot of law firms are intimidated by this because the fear is like, oh, the show up numbers aren't going to be great. Like you host a dinner and four people show up, it's kind of lame. But you got to learn to get really good at promoting these things, and
Can
if
I
it
can I
doesn't,
stop you?
oh
Can I
yeah.
stop you right there? No, no, throw that out, okay? If you like, if people's time is the most valuable thing they have, and if you host a dinner and four people show up, make it the best dinner with four people. Be grateful that four people took time out of their lives, and and who knows? It's like sometimes like I've spoken to rooms with 2,000 people, 2,500 people. I've spoken to rooms with four people. Like, show up the same way. Be grateful the same way. And yes, go on about promoting. But if you're out there, I mean, because I heard a lawyer, uh, they were talking about how they're doing a CLE and only two people had signed up, and they were feeling pretty bad about it. I'm like, head high, greatest bands ever start paying, they start playing shows in their friends' living rooms, and nobody wants to see them. Just give them a show. Go ahead, Tiffany.
Well, I was gonna say everyone starts there. Everyone starts with like the little tiny audience, and then you build on it and you get better at promoting these things. Your marketing team grows, your budget grows, and all of a sudden you go from attracting, four people to a client dinner to, 60. And, all of these things take practice. You just have to start. And I think that's what's holding like a lot of people back from doing stuff like that. But it's great. It's super important. You get a ton of referrals for it. And then speaking to, large language model optimization, LLMO, I think is the abbreviation right now, but it's a lot of letters. But that's really fun and interesting. I actually just signed up for a tool that's kind of like the Ahrefs of ChatGPT and Perplexity and all of the large language model tools right now. Getting used to it, learning how to use it. And I think, in that arena, like what's really important is what's on your website and then secondary sources. Your profile on, and you said it, like Avo or Justia and all of the legal directories. And then the more I'm really trying to push for like my clients to get on other people's websites as much as possible. And
Sure.
it'll help your EEAT, you're still doing SEO, but it'll also help just increase the number of secondary sources that aren't you or your properties mentioning your name, which is really helpful, I think, in ChatGPT right now.
100% your LinkedIn profile, post about what you are doing, all of these things. JD Supra. I mean, like there's just all these things that it is looking for quality signals, or I was asking it to pull. I wanted the top 200 family law firms in the US for my own reasons. I'm not going through a divorce or anything, but I just was like, I want to know who AI thinks. So I do the Google deep research, and it's like saying like, oh, so and so is a member of this board certified thing, and it like because the deep research is so fun because it tells you what it's doing, and it was like. They're all in the Inn of Chamber. I'm making that up. They're in the Inn of Chambers, and that denotes like super high quality. So even, if you're out there and you're doing this work, like belonging to professional associations that are recognized are going to get you to come up. But again, it's something to be thinking about, putting it on your own website, getting links about these things, press releases about these things. It is kind of really the same game, but it's more than just getting people to your own website. It is about your holistic web presence, right?
You know? The evolution of marketing, when you think about it, it's a little bit interesting because, like, in the 90s, like, PR was kind of it. It was like, can we
Yeah.
show up in this magazine, on this TV ad, and this blah, 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 blah. And then it transitioned into digital marketing where it's supposed to be more data driven. We're publishing tailored content, we're getting backlinks, we're doing all these things that don't look like PR anymore. And then it's almost like we've come full circle because like all the things that help us do well on the internet at large are basically like old school PR things, like just networking, getting on podcasts, getting interviewed, being a part of professional associations, press releases, all that's PR. And
What you hit it right on the head, which is, a revolution is when something comes back. It's like one spin around. And I really think that if I was talking to a lawyer in the 50s, right, and they're going to be like, attorneys can't market. They're going to say it. But if I said, hey, if you were the president of your local trial lawyers association, hey, you were involved, you wrote a book about car accidents in Connecticut that was published by Westlaw. You spoke, you gave CLEs on this, and hey, you got the largest jury verdicts in Connecticut. And you were a member of American Association for Justice, and you also volunteered at your local Lions Club, right? Like, that's gonna work. Like that same thing is going to work. And you were generous with other lawyers, and you called your clients back, and you communicated with them, and you cared about them when somebody in their family died. You showed up at the funeral. I mean, like, it's all the same. Like, it really has not changed. And yes, there's a lot of different mediums, but I think fundamentally for the player of the game, it's the same.
yeah. So super interesting to think about. I've heard a lot. I mean, this has been buzzy for the last 2 years, but will AI come for our jobs or how AI is going to change the future of law firms and marketing? What are your predictions? Like, what do you think will stay versus what will go away?
I mean, anything, yes, AI is coming for jobs. Like, absolutely. Your job, my job. I think somebody refers to it as anybody in like the laptop class, which is me, you, probably everybody listening to this. But I don't think that is the end all be all. I think it's going to change how people work, like what people are able to do. I think things like human connection, community, real expertise, is going to be very valuable. Things that are going to be less valuable, right, are, you know, I mean, look, I go into like the back of Meta to set up an ad, and it's like, oh my gosh, like need to have like a perfect SAT to do this or something, because it's all convoluted. But when you understand that, you're going to set up Meta ads by saying, look, talking to a bot, hey, here's what I want. I want to get more car accident cases in Glastonbury, Connecticut. And, my pitch is that, every client gets a lawyer and they talk to a lawyer. And I want to run an ad campaign that's going to get me 10 calls a month, and I've got a limited budget of $50 or something, $500, we'll say. Can you help me build this ad campaign? So the people who are doing the setting up of Facebook ads and Meta ads, I think that goes away. That goes away first. But there's still things like that are going to come down to judgment. And there are still going to be, at least for maybe the next 10 years, I think, human decision makers who are going to have to make calls on what to do and how to do it. And like so many other things in this world, um, I think advice and information has been very cheap for a very long time. Uh, but I think execution is where it matters. So if you're out there and you're in marketing or you're in law and you are executing on things, and you have experience and knowledge, and you can use and leverage these tools, the future's bright. But if you're, you know, a content writer for SEO, I'm not so, you might want to be looking for other work. That's what I would think.
Yeah. And when you think about it, a lot of that stuff really isn't fun anyway. Like nobody wants to be, 32 and writing their 50th personal injury attorney near me SEO article because at a certain point, it's very repetitive. And, being able to make bigger decisions, being able to move projects faster and execute faster, in my view, that's more fun anyway. And yeah, AI is like completely transformed marketing. Like it looks so much different now than it did 5 years ago when you'd have a copywriter and like we'd all have to wait 3 or 4 weeks for the copywriter to get done with the copy so we could review it, so we knew what we were doing. We don't have to do that anymore, and it's so nice. It's so nice not to have to like, spend that time like waiting for, what's essentially, marketing copy that we're going to change a lot and edit a lot anyways. And it just, the pace at which we can move with these things, with these projects, has increased astronomically.
Well,
And it's really exciting.
well, see, and that is also the thing, right? So everything can move faster. And so, there's one way that this plays out, and I think it does play out this way for lawyers, is all of a sudden there's going to be a lot more litigation because more people can easily litigate things. You don't need armies of firms to do, complicated document review and legal research and drafting. Like those things take up massive amounts of time for law firms. And so if you're a law firm that really relies on that for your profit, like you need to be really thinking about your business model and your compensation model and how you charge because that's going to go away. And honestly, like, people are going to be filing more lawsuits because, they're not the chat GPT is getting so good. Agents are going to make it better, and it's astronomical to me to watch. Like Tiffany, even in like the past, even in 2025, we're here in May. How much better ChatGPT and these tools are getting?
Yeah, actually, I recently switched to ChatGPT after trying like a lot of the other AI tools myself, and ChatGPT is really a cut above, I have to say. I haven't tried Perplexity yet, but so far it's the best I've tried. And yeah, it definitely seems like they're getting better. I mean, they still make mistakes, and
Yeah.
sometimes I find it a little overly positive about my ideas. Like I have to tell it's like chill out, just assume my idea is actually crap and
Yeah.
go from there. But it's also like I recently discovered like you can upload a creative, like an image, and say like, "Hey, give me feedback about this. Does it look good? What feedback should I give the designer?" And it'll scan it and it's really accurate and it'll help you, you know, instead of like sitting there and it's like, what do I like, what do I not like about this creative? Like it's almost like it'll do a little bit of the review for you. You can accept or reject some of the suggestions and move on with your day. It's so nice.
No, it's almost like uh um a focus group in a way and tell me what people might think about this tell me tell me what is unclear about this, tell me some better strategies to do this. And oftentimes for me, like I write a lot and I write all my own content, but sometimes I'm like, here's what I want to say. Can you phrase this in a way that makes it clear? Because I sometimes I don't have my coffee in the morning, but it just helps. Like I'm like that is what I want to say. That is my voice, but it reads better.
Yeah. I do that too. I think the key is though, and where a lot of people go wrong, is you have to step up to it knowing what you want to say from start to finish. Because if you don't and it just kind of goes its own way, it tends to be kind of generic, which I don't like. But if you have a full thought in your head, you just don't want to make it sound pretty. It's so good for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was actually kind of the end of my questions. And we're coming up a little bit close to the time. So I guess to wrap this up, I'll just ask you, was there anything that we didn't talk about that you were interested in talking about or want to talk about more?
Yeah, Tiffany, you had mentioned that you are doing a conference for marketing directors. So if you are a lawyer out there doing it, the best thing you can do, honestly, invest in your marketing directors, send them to go to Tiffany's conference, connect, train them, do their thing, because it's also just one thing, right? Like I look and we had mentioned early in this call, like Pilma, and like I look and I see all my lawyer friends there, all the usual suspects are out there. And great, great. That's wonderful. But it's a lot more. I mean, we really started growing as a firm when I took Brittany Green, who's our was our marketing director at the firm, when I started taking her to these events. And I'm like, I want you exposed to these people, these ideas, these concepts. I want you to be trained because ultimately, like, marketing's a part of what I do, but I don't want to do it all. And what you will win as a law firm owner when your marketing director tells you what to be doing. Okay. And so, but in order to do that, like anything else, you need to invest in their training, growth, education. So go to Tiffany's event, follow her, invest in that training because it's going to pay you massive dividends. Just
Right.
don't think you can your person's going to learn through osmosis by you have gone to Pilma. And I think Pilma is a great conference. I've heard wonderful things about it. I'm not knocking it at all, but really and truly, that needs to be trickling down. And that's where your growth is going to be.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Also mentioning the event, but also I agree with you. Like, if you have a marketing director and you go to these conferences, take them because that perspective is just really invaluable. Because a lot of times they don't get that. They just get the perspective of what is marketing from the internet, and a lot of times what you get off the internet is generic. And you don't want to be a generic law firm. You want to have effective marketing. You just don't learn that scrolling through Google, I guess. I mean, maybe you can, but
You can't be well. My pitch to when I ran a firm of 40 people, my pitch was always that marketing is actually the sort of hardest game to be playing in a firm. And what I mean by that is like law doesn't change very much. I mean, like sometimes the law changes, sometimes the legislature does stuff, sometimes courts do things, but by and large, like it's conservative, it's pretty stable. Marketing, it's like this is happening. This used to work, and then it stopped working. Now this is working. Now everything is moving over here. So, even if you're not, if you could do Tiffany's thing, do it. If you could bring them to a conference like Pilma, do it. But also like, PimCon or not PimCon, PubCon and SEO conferences that are outside or remarketing conferences that are general. I mean, like, but you want to be on top of the trends, the data, you want to know what is out there. It is an area of life where you can never stop learning.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. We had a great conversation. You're an excellent guest, and thank you. Well, just thank you again. And well, if somebody wants to learn more about you, follow you, where do you want them to go?
You can go visit me on LinkedIn. Send me a friend request. Or a follow request, I guess, on LinkedIn. I try to post pretty much every day. It's me, it's not a bot. I'll engage with you if I can. So follow me on LinkedIn, or you can find me, my company's Best Era at bestera.io.
All right. Thanks again.